I never thought I'd see the day when this underrated gem ended up coming across my feed again, but it has and needs a serious signal boost to help it this time from falling back into obscurity. Let's talk Resonance of Fate. Resonance of Fate is a crazy turn-based action RPG developed by Tri-Ace and published by Sega for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 on January 28, 2010. Nearly 9 years later, we have it remastered for 4K and released for PlayStation 4 and PC on October 17, 2018. This is a game I really fell in love with in my PlayStation 3 days, and always felt bad because it truly felt underrated, and sadly, it almost feels like the same will happen with this remaster. So without further ado, let's jump into this and let me make my case for this game. Resonance of Fate takes place on our very own Earth in a future far, far ahead. In what looks like a semi-apocalyptic steampunk future, we follow Zephyr, Leanne, and Vacheron as they take on odd jobs all around Basil in a slower-paced version of Cowboy Bebop. There's a deeper story about secrets within religion, but I'll leave that for you guys to check out in the game yourself, as it's very interesting to say the least. Resonance of Fate will run you around 50 hours to complete the story, with double that time to 100% it, and I find that to be so satisfying as there's lots of story to enjoy and things to do that get very interesting. Resonance of Fate has very intriguing story with a sort of Cowboy Bebop type aesthetic along the way, which makes for a good time. So let's see how the land of Basil looks. The graphics for Resonance of Fate are nothing short of outstanding in my eyes. Maybe it's the art style, but the amount of little details in the locations you travel through really breathe life into Basil and give you a bit of background into how this world on Earth came to be. The designs for the main characters are just as great as the designs for the other characters and enemies of the game, and the best part is your ability to buy clothing and hair dyes and colored contacts to transform your main cast to suit your visual taste. Even cinematics pull no punches when it wants to display its artistic beauty and gloss that it truly captures me. Of course, there are small imperfections like seeing some jagged edges on the model's hands and such, but it's such a minor grievance that you quickly forget about when you see everything else the game has to offer. Resonance of Fate truly delivers on a cinematic visual experience that I hope convinces you guys to check it out, but if not, then perhaps the audio will do. The music for Resonance of Fate is beautiful, and I really enjoy it in this already strange world. The title music really gets you excited for the adventure ahead. While the combat music really gets me pumped and ready to fly around the screen in a blaze of glory.
Game over. I see you. You want some more? He's not any ordinary. He's like such a little wound.
You do have nice relaxing tunes during your downtime exploring the maps as well. And everything just feels beautifully executed. Along with the music, the voice acting in this game can vary.
Look at that. What's happening? What's going on? Look. It's mine!
So, what do you think?
but for the most part, it's well done when they give me Scott Menville, known for his role as Robin in Teen Titans, and Lloyd Irving in Tales of Symphonia, Nolan North, known for his iconic role as Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series, and Jessica DeSico, who is known as Flame Princess in Adventure Time and Tambry in Gravity Falls. With a solid voice cast for your main party characters and the beautiful music you hear throughout your adventures, you end up with an experience that is pleasing to the ears. Now it's time for the meat of this entire game to begin and to dazzle you with some intense action. The gameplay for Resonance of Fate is a turn-based JRPG, but it changes things up in very interesting ways that make for an enjoyable time as you go through the story. Starting with the world map, you have an interesting puzzle aspect to the game where you must collect and use hexes to open up pathways around Basil and let you reach new areas to continue the story. You also have colored hexes that have differing effects and even a special hex that can erect a station that allows you to heal and save, which can really help immensely if you're stuck in an area with tough enemies you find difficulty with. As you move around the world map, time also moves along with you for a very smooth day and night system that also affects things like quest objectives and enemies you fight. There's even little things like allowing you to switch the main character you walk around as that makes the game enjoyable for me to a degree. Speaking of quest, with the day and night system affecting the quest objectives, always be aware of what time of day it is, as some NPCs you need to interact with may not be in the target location you head to unless it's daytime when the location is open, or perhaps even nighttime when they want to meet you alone or something. Also be aware that after beating the main story quest for the chapter, you'll have the option to complete side quests before advancing to the next chapter and removing those side quests permanently. So if you're the completionist, you don't have to worry about whether doing the story will accidentally cut you off from completely side stuff. Now it's time for the combat of the game, which is by far my favorite part of the game. Like I mentioned before, it's a turn-based system, but with unique features that really make it unique from the rest. One way is how, when you move, you set a timer off that ends your turn when depleted. While this timer runs, so does your enemies, as they can follow you to try and attack you while you set yourself up. You have various ways to tackle enemies, such as using barriers, to even setting up a path to perform a hero action while you attack. And if you jump while doing this hero action and you attack, you end up with some cinematic shooting that makes you feel like you're part of an action anime with some over-the-top gravity that has you flying while you lay the smackdown on your enemies. Speaking of smackdown, if you shoot an enemy you've launched mid-air while you're also mid-air above them, you actually smack them down into the ground, which can cause additional damage. Though you do need to know a little tidbit before you go out guns ablaze. In Resonance of Fate, you have two types of damage that can really shift the battle to anybody's favor: scratch damage as well as direct damage. With scratch damage, usable only by SMGs, you basically deal a lot of damage to an opponent, but it ultimately does nothing until you convert it into direct damage, which is done with handguns and grenades. With the two in successful combination, you can make quick work of enemy shields and enemy body parts to put a swift end to them. Also keep in mind that attacking requires charges, which your attack charge can be quick to slow depending on the distance between you and the enemy. As you level up, you'll be able to store more charges for more damage and effects in the future. With all of that in mind, you also have to know about bezels, which are required to use hero actions, and also as a form of shield that protects your character from suffering direct damage as long as you have one bezel. I know it's very appealing to spam hero actions to feel like you're in a John Woo film, but try to practice moderation, as running out of bezels leaves you in a critical state where your characters become frightened, take longer to shoot, can't do hero actions, and take direct damage until you're ultimately defeated. If you're ever caught in this state, run towards the nearest bezel shards you can find to form a bezel to return back to safety. If all of this is starting to sound difficult, then don't fret, as the game has a wicked customization system where you can attach parts to your weapons to do things like increasing accuracy in your shots to increasing power, among other things as well. You'll need this when you tackle dungeons, which work in a strange way in this game, as each room has you playing the turn-based combat mode even after you defeated the enemy, allowing you to collect items you find along the way until you defeat the boss. So be sure to find your nearest station to rest and save, and go make me proud. Honestly, I feel like I've talked your ear off about this game, but hopefully you leave this experience at least curious to give this game enough of a try as to see why I couldn't shut up about it. Resonance of Fate is a game that is too beautiful and too fun to be the underrated hidden gem it is. Even with the Steam release, it feels as if nothing has changed and I still hear nothing about it. I hope you guys give this game a try and see the value in it that I do. Because honestly, I've never loved a JRPG's gameplay as much as a game that makes me feel like I'm flying in the air dishing out swift justice. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of UnderRadar. If you did, I hope you drop a like, subscribe for more UnderRadar, and share this video around if you think we need more UnderRadar in the world. Thank you guys for another fantastic episode of UnderRadar, and I'll see you on the next one.